Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Howard Pinksy, and I have the pleasure of sitting down with Creative Director and my good friend, Ambert Rodriguez. How are you, Ambert?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm okay, hanging in there. As some of you may know, I'm dealing with some health issues, which is why I wasn't hosting yesterday, but a big thank you to everyone behind the scenes who took over very quickly. It was a little bit unexpected, but I'm here, I'm alive, and excited to be sitting down with you today, Ambert. I missed yesterday's stream, so you're going to have to catch me up in a few minutes on all the things that I missed, and if anyone in the chat also missed yesterday's stream, it'll be a good refresher. But I do want to say a big hello to Cody and Jack and Cornell, Julia, Wade, and everyone else tuning in. If you are joining live on behance.net/Adobe Live, let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. We also have challenge reviews coming up in about an hour and a half. So definitely submit those challenges. I know the first challenge didn't take place yet. That's going to take place after this stream. But if you want to get a head start, definitely go ahead and do that. So, Ambert, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you did yesterday.
Yes. So just a kind of a quick recap. Again, Ambert Rodriguez. I am the Chief Creative Officer, Creative Director at Wheelhouse.io. We're a hybrid agency that not only does creative services, but also kind of takes care of a company in its entirety, right? So we have financial services, we have venture services. So that's why we're kind of coining that hybrid agency, that term, because we kind of want to take care of businesses, not just a specific part of a company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of just who I am, what I do, kind of in a nutshell. And just want to kind of dive into what we started yesterday. So we started to build an app, an activity tracking app, and we kind of went through some of these steps already. So we talked about our brief. I'm just going to quickly kind of slide through these
Of
so that
course, yeah.
whoever wasn't here yesterday can kind of see what we went through. So we talked about our goals and objectives of this app itself. We talked about and looked at companies that were in a similar vertical. Sorry, little twist of words.
Words are
There.
hard when you're streaming. I know the feeling.
And competition. We looked at a little bit of what these apps looked like, right? Like what we liked from some of these apps, what we didn't like, how we feel like maybe we can make them a little bit better, or maybe how we could even merge some of these features that they offer. We talked about the brand itself, right? About kind of the name that we want to make for call this app. We're calling it Bustle. Because we kind of
I like
like
that name.
what it
It's fun.
means. Yeah, it means to move or act with a great show of energy, and I think that works perfectly with what this app is going to do.
Yep.
I kind of pre-designed a little bit of icons, how we wanted it to look, so that we can move forward. But this is kind of where I landed. We also showed two different colorways on this. Yesterday's chat liked this reddish color. Not the blue one so much.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of felt like we're just going to go along this lines with the red.
It's a nice red. It's not too red, but it's kind of like a reddish pink, and with a It's
it
not
has
too
a good,
saturated. Looks nice.
yeah. I think it'll work also when we're doing different highlights on a map, or when we're calling out
Yeah.
certain things in the app. I think that'll look really cool. And if we're also kind of looking at the landscape really quick, there isn't reds unless you're looking at like the Peloton, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's using like blacks and oranges and greens and blues, so that it'll help kind of stand out in a way. We did a quick ad of what this might look like. I did all this just to kind of get us into the kind of the look and feel of what we want to go with the brand, right? As we're designing this, so we can look back at some of these different touch points and make sure that what we're designing for on the app still feels consistent with what
Yep.
everybody else would see. Just quick examples of what the icons might look like. And then we did a good little deep dive in this mind map that I kind of built out with some of the product features, tech considerations, business requirements. I talked about how this was actually made right in XD.
Mm-hmm.
through the whiteboard, um, uh, the sorry, the whiteboard plugin. I'm trying
Yeah,
to find
that's
it
a
here. Yeah,
fantastic plugin. It was actually made by one of the teams internally at Adobe. They also released the quick mockup plugin, which is also fantastic.
yeah. So I have a quick mockup one. I have the whiteboard one, a couple of other ones that I've used here and there, but this whiteboard one is really great.
Yeah.
It has some great templates too that you can kind of use as user stories and all that stuff too, which is interesting.
Yep.
Um, and then we got into a little bit of wireframing, and then a little bit into the design. Some of the wireframing, this is kind of what it started to look like. All right, we got into what the onboarding screens would look like, maybe what the feed would look like with um, some, instead of stories, we're calling them highlights, which
Hmm.
makes sense with the brand.
Yeah.
Um, so did we want them squares? Did we want them circles? Did we kind of like them more rectangles?
Mm.
Um, we talked about the feed and how maybe some of these tracking points where maybe it works better on the bottom or above the map. Um, just different layout options here, and obviously kind of just kind of walk through maybe some of the different navigations on the bottom. So all of this was done right here, super fast. Nothing high def in these wireframes, just so we
I love
can go through
seeing
them
Yeah, I
rather
love seeing the
quickly. Yeah,
wireframes looking like this because often, I say this a lot. We spend a lot of time on Behance or Dribble, and we see these beautiful shots. But really, most of the time, your designs start looking like this. And not to be disrespectful, Ambert, but these are very ugly, and that's by nature, right? You
right.
want people to focus on the actual user experience of an application before getting distracted by all the pretty colors, like that red you chose earlier. So by showing it like this and starting off very simple, it allows users to do that.
Yeah, and you obviously do want to kind of get it to a point where you have all of the content that you want on here, right? So notifications, these are the tabs that we feel like are going to be on here.
Yep.
And if you're working with a client, you kind of want to get obviously their perspective on this. So um, you don't want to add too much design into it. So it's purposely done, for lack of a better, like you said, ugly, right?
Hmm.
So that the client doesn't fall in love with it in a certain way, before you actually start putting into some design work into that. Um, we also talked about like chose one of these other. So this was the feed, right? So after you log in, you might see your feed here, and maybe you tap into your training tab, and then kind of what you would see as you go in there. Because this app, we want it to not only work, for going out and recording an activity, but
Right.
also maybe having some premium features, where you can go in here, log in, and have like live training classes, maybe some pre-recorded classes on there that you can only get if you have a subscription, and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we ended off with the wireframes. I didn't really want to go into. I usually would go out and design every single wireframe, every single tab, but because we wanted to actually show some design yesterday, we quickly jumped into what the onboarding screens would look like,
Hmm.
and we built this out yesterday. With three screens here for onboarding. Get started and log in. We have two different states for this button. We have the kind of the default state, and then we have the outline state.
Yep.
So we talked about that. We also kind of quickly showed what it would look like, obviously with did I turn those off? I did turn them off. In the prototype of what it would look like as you're prototyping it on a drag, um, and then making this one kind of just come back to the beginning. So just a quick kind of prototype of what it would look like as you're, going through this on your phone. I did not speak about this yesterday, but I do like to mention that, if you download the XD app, I like to do this a lot. I like
Hmm.
to actually see it on my phone, so I know, like, how big a button is. Sometimes, especially working with, on apps on smaller screens, when you're zooming in and wanting to see details, a typeface or a button could look pretty large. on screen, but when you're actually looking at it on the app, it's not that large, really,
I was
right?
just about
So
to say, we get so distracted zooming in and fixating on tiny little details. And often, a lot of designers work very zoomed in to try to make sure things are pixel perfect. And then when they zoom out, they realize that, well, everything looks kind of small now because it looked
yeah,
great when you're tiny. So using the XD mobile app or even just using the preview within your desktop experience can really help give perspective to how things are looking.
100%. So when you're looking at it, yeah, it looks great. So um, so that's kind of where we left off, and I want to dive into actually designing what the feed might look like.
Nice.
Um, Compared to kind of where we were with the with the wireframes.
Yeah, and if anyone has questions in the
There's
chat for Amber,
Yeah,
throw them in there. I will be taking a look, and I'll do my best to ask him.
I'm gonna move the wireframes here on my other screen so I can compare them as I'm designing.
Yeah,
Um, I do. Yesterday we spoke about, like, I like to create a brand new file, instead of designing right on the same wireframes, just because I like to keep things without kind of editing them. I like to kind of that whole non-destructive editing, so I can have that history of artboards as I look back.
totally. And
Maybe I
that brings
forgot
up
a
an
feature or
interesting
something.
conversation and question because I know the XD team is looking a lot into organization of XD documents, and they're looking at various ways to organize documents better than they are now. What if you had if there was a perfect in a perfect world, how would you like to organize? Is this something you prefer to do, just making a new file, or would you like something like the ability to create pages or better versioning or things like what would you like to see in XD to help with exactly what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think Pages would be a great add to XD,
Hmm.
where you can kind of toggle between, your just research on, pasted stuff that you've put on there.
Yep.
Like, for example, I can have that whole other document of the research, the user experience, the mind mapping on there. And then I can toggle to the other page of the wireframes, and then we can quickly toggle to designs. And having that all in one document, that would be amazing for sure. I think that would be a big plus.
That's good to know.
I do like to also have these kind of titles on the side here, just so when I'm looking at this, when as I'm designing this here, um, when I'm farther out, I can quickly see the titles of these tabs or these pages that we're designing here.
Right. And is that
That's
something
just
else you would like to see in XD, being able to group artboards together and maybe give them a title?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of rig it this way, but if
Right.
there's definitely an official way to do it, and being thought of, that would be great for sure.
Absolutely.
I don't know what everybody else does on chat.
Yeah, let us know in chat. The team is obviously working on big things like better organization. They're also working on a lot of quality of life improvements. So if you have specific requests, in addition to putting them on adobeXD.uservoice.com, I'd love to hear them in the chat.
100%. So the idea of this is that you're following friends' activities, and you're kind of looking at, when you log in, almost similar to like an Instagram or like a Facebook. You're going to see other people's posts, right? Other
Yep.
people that you're following, their activities. So
You can see their activities and how much more active they are than me.
exactly, maybe be a little bit inspired to get out,
That's true.
and get something, right? So I'm just gonna quickly try and play around with, like, what I want this. I should just lock that. What I want this, the profile kind of image to look like. That's kind of
Hmm.
a normal. I usually just like to start off with my name, because it's a long name, as a test. Um,
Yeah, I've run into that before where I've been designing like a profile or something to that extent, and I'll use a like John Doe for example. Then I'll realize, well, most people's names are probably longer than John Doe. I should probably make room for that.
yeah, and I have a bunch of photos here that a lot of them are from Adobe stock that I downloaded, but some of them are also um, some actual photos of myself cycling.
Hmm.
So I am gonna throw an actual real photo of myself in here. Why not?
Sure, go for it. Flex that. Flex it.
And we'll just kind of zoom in here. The border's a little too dark for me, so I'm just gonna kind of play around with this a little bit. Again, because you're super close, you're looking at these details, but from this far away, you don't really notice it.
Yeah.
But because it was darker, and let's say somebody has like a white frame picture or something behind them, you do want to kind of show that it is, that the that their photo is there.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be working off of this 8 point, kind of pixel grid. So I'm gonna keep 8 points distance here.
Yeah,
Um,
we get a lot of guests who are big on the 8 point grid, and we always have questions in the chat asking the guests what's the benefit of the eight pixel grid, and is it really necessary?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of benefits just of consistency. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Um, Sometimes when you're designing, you're always eyeballing stuff, but if you know that it's just gonna be an 8 point, grid system, it makes it a lot easier. You don't have to try to see, if this is gonna work. Um, and it's easier for the developers, so you're on a specific grid system, and I mean, there's a lot, we talked about it yesterday. There's a lot of kind of documents and a lot of kind of research done on Medium sites, or even just these other websites, people posting stuff on how an 8 point, grid system is good just to keep for consistency and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, if you are working with a development team, definitely sync with them. Maybe they like 10 pixels or 4 pixels, or 8 pixels seem to be the standard these days. But every development team's different, and some of them are very traditional. They like those 10 pixels, right? So sync with your teams and make sure you're all on the same page.
For sure. We spoke yesterday that I will be using Helvetica now, which is the updated version of Helvetica.
Hmm.
It's
Can't
one
go
of
wrong
my
with that.
it's one of my go-to typefaces right now. Um, I think it works for both digital and print. So I think when you have a product that just doesn't live in devices, that lives in different touch points, I think it's important to really think through which typeface would be good for that. So, and just what I'm designing right now is what you would normally see, like um, in tracking or activity apps. Is you want to see the distance that you ran or cycled or
Right.
swam. You want to be able to see elevation. You want to be able to see the time that you did this in. You want to be able to see averages, right? Whether it's average speed, average running, average pace, different things like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm just going to start putting some of this information here, and then see kind of if it works. We'll play around if it works good at the top or at the bottom, below the post. Um, what we feel works better. Um, I'm just adding the content right now, and then we'll move it around as we kind of see fit.
Yeah, and if for people in the chat, if you use fitness applications, or if you don't use fitness applications and you would like to, what sort of things would you like to see if you opened up a feed, for example? Because there's always that balance, right? There's a tendency to there's a chance you can open up the feed and be completely shut down because you see all your friends doing things that you can't, right? So I think it's very important to find that balance when you're designing something like this, that you don't want to be too aggressive because then it could drive people away. So I would love to hear with the chat what you would like to see on a fitness feed like this.
And I'm actually just using like longer. I just don't want to put like 2 miles or something like that, because I want to take into consideration that some of these sections might be longer. Like
Yeah.
if somebody did if the elevation, you won't get an elevation like this in South Florida where I live because everything is flat.
That's true.
So you'd probably be getting like an elevation of like 6 feet. But you still want to take into consideration of like, people who live in places where there's mountains and stuff like that. So
Right.
you want to keep those sections, so
How's the weather
elevation.
where you are, by the way?
We supposedly had a hurricane this weekend, but I still went riding my bike, so it wasn't really a hurricane.
Oh, good. I remember when I lived down there, some of the storms were just insane. One of the times we were working at the store together, there was this you probably remember it. There was a massive storm. There was so much flooding that my mother-in-law wasn't able to come pick us up because it was it was up to my knees in just water. It was crazy.
Yeah, it rained pretty bad this morning. And it's been raining all day today, but right now it's bright blue skies. So
5 minutes later, it'll be pouring again.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of quickly look at this to see if this feels a little small. I think it feels good so far. I want to kind of play around like with what like the post would look like. You'd like to see like in a lot of these fitness apps, they have like the route that you did,
Right.
like kind of shown. Like you can use that as like your post, right? It automatically kind of posts that there for you.
Yep.
I'm going to quickly get a map here. Sorry, this is showing where I live. I don't know if that's okay, but
we can always blur this out later.
And I'm going to just kind of take that into Photoshop really quick. Maybe take that off.
I have been working with a developer on a new Maps plugin that hopefully will be available in XD at some point in the near future. It's coming along pretty well.
Oh, nice.
I designed it live during a masterclass, and he immediately got to work and he's starting to develop. He's actually in contact with the XD plugins team. So hopefully it'll be available soon.
And that's what, I just did a content awareness here.
Yeah.
And just took off that dot.
I love content aware.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. So is that going to be a plugin that you're going to be able to just to like add a map in any section or any kind of?
Yeah. So the basic goals are, in the panel on the left, you'll be able to press like a random button if you just want a map and don't really care where it is. You'll also be able to put in an address if you want a very specific location. You'll also be able to choose like top destinations like New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Florida, whatever it might be, different zoom levels. And then eventually they'll have like an elements panel. So you'll be able to drag out like a location pin or a dot or a route, for example. So there's a lot of interesting things that will ship initially and then over time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So usually you'd want to kind of see a route. So I'm going to quickly just like pen tool what a recording of a route would look like here. This is a normal route that I would do when I'm out riding. So here we'll see actually how this red that we chose would work.
Right.
See if it's
it would probably work a little bit better than the blue because especially where you live, there are a lot of rivers and swamps and oceans and things like that, which could, blend in a lot with that blue. Of course, you can put borders and shadows and things like that, but I think the red could work as well.
Yeah, 100%. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to play around with the stroke of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put one behind it. with a white stroke, but a little bit of the stroke size a little bit bigger, just so that that the route stands out a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah, that red looks pretty good.
I'm liking it.
Let's take a quick kind of, yeah. I want this to be a little bit softer too, so I'm just gonna make the corners rounded.
Yeah.
So that it feels a little, yeah, awesome.
Cornell in the chat is saying that a step counter is a must in that kind of app, and he would love to get Bitcoins for every completed activity to stay fit forever. Wouldn't that be amazing?
So who's offering the Bitcoins?
Yeah, really.
And we kind of want I use what's your favorite go-to, Howard? What's your favorite go-to for like icons and stuff like that?
I've been using, so it depends on the situation. If it's something I'm going to be distributing, I've been using the Icons for Design plugin in XD, which gives access to feather icons, a lot of different open source libraries. Let me open up. I use the Nucleo app for my management.
Nice.
And I've got the symbol icons and stroked icons that are more or less my go-to. What about you?
I'm using Font Awesome.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah, I really like some of the new stuff that they're coming out with now. They have a lot of light versions, like real thin strokes.
Yep.
To like a medium stroke. So I'm just gonna quickly just use that. I have their it's like a cheat sheet, right? Tabbed on my Safari, and I just actually not even. Let me just show. Can I quickly show what that looks like?
Yeah, I follow the creator of Font Awesome on Twitter, and I believe if I saw correctly, they're coming up with like version 6 or something, and he's going back and revisiting a lot of the older icons to kind of update them and just kind of perfect them a little bit, which is cool.
Yeah, so they have this whole kind of catalog here. You can just kind of copy and paste, obviously put it there, and then just change the the name to Font Awesome.
Oh, nice.
And then you have your you got your regular, your light. I'm probably going to go with light. So we can play around with, maybe like different states would be different weights, right? Would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So like a selected state would be like a solid or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's going to be pretty interesting. So I'm just kind of moving this back over here so I can quickly just keep showing the screen as opposed to showing the site. Any questions so far? I mean, I think
yeah, so not much of a question, but more of a suggestion. Cornell is saying that you can also dim the map a little bit if you wanted to set the color to blue for the actual path. And I think also, what you've done now with the white border around the path would also probably work in that situation with the blue.
100%. And what would be cool too is some animations on this, right? So let's say I tap on the actual post and I go and see the post. Maybe the route moves and shows the route that I did. You know what I mean? That would be interesting to see.
Yep.
So, I mean, just different thoughts like that.
Absolutely. And things like that could be done with component states and also an animated mask. You can probably do something. It'd be a little bit more difficult with yours considering it's a complete path, but still doable.
We'll try it out.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting these icons here. I think we kind of want like a share icon or something, or a
So Sarah in the chat is asking, do you create separate designs for users with dark mode enabled?
Good question. Yeah, you'd have to take into consideration all of that for sure. Yeah, it'd have to be a different design, different artboards. You can quickly, sure, and that's what's great about like using components and all of that is you can now go in and save a new file, change different colors on the components, and then it would change all the artboards and stuff like that. So it make it a lot easier than how life used to be before.
That's true.
Those things existed.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting, and this is not an indication of something that's being worked on. It just popped into my brain right now. Is we obviously have components and states for things like buttons and maps or whatever it might be. It'd be kind of neat if there was such a thing as like an artboard state. So you can take everything that you've done in this artboard, create essentially a state, and use that for dark mode, and then changing the main artboard state would update certain styles, and you can override things on the other one. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting for sure. Something that we got to think about here too is, so by looking at this, you can probably say that you can guess that I did cycle 46 miles, but how do you know, right? I think we need like some kind of something to indicate that I did actually go riding on this. Like it was a bike ride as opposed to I ran, right? Right? Mm-hmm. So something that just kind of indicates that. Going to do like some kind of label on this. So really quick, an icon.
And Dan in the chat is asking, will Font Awesome render properly in the prototype view? I do know it will render on the desktop view if you do preview the prototype. You have your phone there. Does it render on the mobile device? Because I know some third-party fonts do not render properly on mobile.
I'll let you know once it updates here. Some things that I'm doing too as I'm designing this, I'm using consistent font sizes, right?
Right.
So the tag, so these are the different kind of labels for these analytics. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use the same. So this is 10 pixels or 10 points. Sorry, I'm going to use the same for this label, right? For whatever this is. So this is going to be my row. I'm going to actually take off this border. So this is going to say, I rode my bike today at 5 a.m. I will eventually add in some of the padding on here, but I just want to leave it for now until we kind of get everything going, and then I'll start adding padding so that we can kind of reuse the same label in different parts of the app.
For those unfamiliar with padding and content-aware stack or layout and things like that, Amber's going to show it later, but essentially the padding feature will allow you to create elements like that where the bike and there's text beside it, and then as you change the text, so like let's say you change it to Wednesday at 8 o'clock or something, the background behind it will automatically resize, so you don't have to manually go through. We've all been there, and you have to drag it manually, and then every single time you update it you have to change that again.
Right. This would be more for just a kind of a more menu, right?
Yep.
Maybe I want to maybe not see more of myself anymore, or just another menu there that's going to allow us to kind of see more information.
Totally.
I think this is I think what would be good to kind of see here now is like so a comment maybe that I have posted. See if this typeface might be too small, but for dummy copy, I use this thing called Little Ipsum.
Oh, interesting. I've never seen that before.
It's just a quick copy and paste that lives, on your toolbar at the top.
I'm gonna have to check that out later.
Let me see if this is.
Can you change it to like bacon Ipsum or something?
I've seen some different ones like hip hop Ipsums and stuff like that. If they had a hip hop one, that's where I would be at all day. View. This would be like if somebody had comments on here. View all 19 comments, and then we'll keep it with this. Did I add this right here? So we'll actually add this as a colors. Go. Nice. And I will also start adding character styles on here too. I just want to make sure that we're kind of good with what this looks like.
Yeah.
And then before I start going into other kind of pages, we'll start, creating character styles and stuff like that.
So far it looks very, very much like Instagram, which isn't a bad thing. It's, it follows a lot of the same best practices about the icons and the text and the large images, which, it's obviously a proven thing that works, right? So might as well 100%. Kind of take inspiration from that.
Yeah. And there's, we can take inspiration from that. We can also try and see how we can make it a little bit different too, right? So maybe it's not, maybe it's not something that kind of goes full width. Maybe we want to keep them into containers.
Yeah.
The difference between like maybe what this is and what Instagram is that Instagram, you can actually like tap into the post itself and it doesn't take you somewhere else, right?
Right.
So maybe we do want this to live in a container to give you that feeling that it is something that is tappable, that you want to be able to go in and see more information.
Yep. This is definitely something that would probably come up in user testing is, you would give this app to somebody or the prototype and you would just watch and see what happens. If you find a lot of them are trying to tap and get into something, then something has to change.
Right. So let's just quickly do that. See what that, what that might look like.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, Pallavi in the chat has a question. She's asking, what is the guideline for mobile layout and what is best practice for a mobile artboard?
I always kind of start off with the iPhone Max 11. Because it's what I have, right? And so when I'm looking at it, on the XD app, it gives me the actual feeling of a real app. But everybody kind of starts off differently. Most people like to start off with something a little bit more in between, so that not everybody has a large phone like I do. But yeah, it really depends on kind of what you want to do.
Totally. And of course, it depends on the device you're developing for, Android, iOS. Some iOS artboards will require you to kind of keep in mind that there's a notch at the top and the home indicator at the bottom. Some don't have that. They just have the button down there. So a lot of it is really depends on what you're doing.
Right. And I have that space here also for the notch already kind of put into the artboard so that we can, whenever we're kind of testing it on the app itself, I can see that.
Yep.
So I'm just kind of moving these items a little bit here so they can fit within this kind of frame that we're building.
And it may not be necessary for this specific example, but there may be examples where you have a very long route. Maybe someone bike rode across the entire country, and now you can use scroll groups in XD to kind of contain a larger map inside of a rectangle, and then have your users be able to kind of swipe around and see more of the information.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe what we can do is when we create the actual post of this, we can, move around the map and stuff like that. That'd be interesting to
Yeah.
see. You should try to get like a little bit more pixel perfect on some of these, but I'm just gonna kind of play around with this. I want to give these a little bit of a rounded corner on here, just to feel a little bit softer. This 8 is nice. I don't know if you're seeing that. Obviously, maybe let's check it out on what this might look like. It's there, but it's not there, which is
right. Very
what I'm
subtle.
looking for. Yeah. So I'm going to just group this really quick, just to kind of see what this looks like. I am going to quickly just create a repeat grid on here, just to kind of play around with to seeing. Move this board down. I just really quickly want to see what this might look like, as we're scrolling through these.
Yeah. That's looking pretty good. I think there's a nice amount of space in between each one. The borders are a little bit difficult to see from when it is zoomed out, but the spacing looks pretty good.
Spacing looks good. The thing about the border too is maybe see what it's like if we add what does it look like if we added I'm going to quickly undo the repeat grid. What does it look like if I added a shadow? But not too much of a shadow, because we don't want it to be something along those lines. Feels a little bit softer. Yeah, it feels nice.
I'm very particular with my shadows. I think every stream I go on this rant about shadows.
And let's just quickly also design the kind of bottom nav here of what we wanted to have the users kind of navigate. I think let's see here.
Fab in the chat is saying he joined a bit late, but great job. I want to use that app.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I don't like always keeping it on 70, 72-ish. What size is this? 24.
Smith in the chat is asking, how do we account for the scroll bar eating up on the right padding? So I think in most cases, at least in my experience on like the iPhone, for example, the scroll bar is so, one, it's hidden by default, and two, it's so tiny when you are scrolling that it's probably best to not even think about the scroll bar, especially when you're designing for an iPhone. I don't know for sure on Android. Actually, I do have an Android phone here, but it's probably pretty similar, right?
Yeah, I think it's similar to me. I'm just going to quickly just put in some mock-ups of here what this is. So we have, I'm looking at our wireframes here. So it was feed, search, record, training, and account.
Mm-hmm.
So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Again, keeping some of these type heights consistent. So we'll do feed, but just do there.
And how important do you think it is to include a text layer in addition to the icon on navigation bar?
I think it's a good question. There's some apps that do it, some apps that don't, and you kind of leave it, for ambiguity. But I mean, I think because it's kind of a new app, I think you want to, there's like, for example, the middle one is going to be record.
Right.
You kind of want to say that it's record, like you're going to record an activity, not, like record some audio or something like that. I don't know. I like to have it, as opposed to not having it. I like, again, it all depends on the design too, right? If it doesn't really need it and you feel like, users don't really need it, and you can maybe test that too. But for now, we'll just add a title. And they're kind of small, so we'll
As a reminder for everyone in the chat, in about 45 minutes, I think, we are going to take a look at some daily challenge entries, which I'm going to be kicking off right after this stream. So if you are participating in the challenge a little bit early, head onto Discord, submit it in the current challenge channel, that's the one, and we'll take a look at it shortly.
And what I'll probably do here too is also make these stacks later, so that if maybe search we want on the right hand side, or we can move those around quite easily.
Yeah.
Just want to kind of get the information on here, so that we can move forward with that. And
how do you decide how many icons you're going to throw in your navigation bar? It seems like probably 3, 4, 5 is probably around the average. But how do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just trying to figure out what's the most important. Places on the app that you want people to go to. Like maybe we find out that search isn't really that important as we're designing this. Maybe because we also, on the wireframes, we had notifications at the top. Maybe notifications is more important, right?
Right.
Maybe we want to move notifications down and search to the top. But I think it's what you feel is going to be most important, where we want to drive the user to. Also, maybe that's where most of the content is. Let me just quickly find these icons, search. It's starting to feel like a real app now.
I know, it's amazing what just little icons can do for an experience. Surab in the chat is asking, is XD coming up with infinite canvas anytime soon? So the short answer to that is probably not, at least certainly not infinite. The team is doing a lot of research and testing and developing of many features that will help with organization, because you also followed up by saying that you run out of canvas space. But we want to make sure that performance doesn't suffer. We've tried increasing the size of the canvas internally, and it certainly gives you more space, but once you start using up that space, performance starts to drop. So the team is, in addition to wanting to open up the canvas a little bit, they want to make sure that performance doesn't drop. And, we were talking earlier with Ambert, is something like Pages could help as well for someone like Sarab who's running out of canvas space. So if you're working on a mobile version and a desktop version, maybe a light mode and a dark mode, or wireframes and high fidelity, then you can use different pages for things like that. So the team is exploring a lot of different options. I don't have specifics just yet on what they're working on, but performance has to come first, because the last thing you want is a massive canvas, and then once you start filling it, everything just gets bogged down. So you never know what the future holds, but a lot is being worked on as I speak.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It just takes time. It's unfortunate that it takes time, but I've worked in software development before, both directly and also indirectly on the marketing side. And, even small changes could take weeks, sometimes even months to get through, not only through the priority list, but also between development and testing, a lot of different things. These things take time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. Just from using multiple applications before in the past, I've been so impressed with XD and how smooth it is.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest, just one of the biggest reasons I love XD is just how fast and smooth and snappy everything is as you're zooming in, zooming out. Get kind of frustrated with other stuff, but yeah, I mean, what you guys are doing is definitely awesome. Just kind of keeping into consideration that you want to make sure that that the lagging and all of that works perfectly, as you're pushing out new updates for sure.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit there have been a few updates in the past that performance did take a bit of a hit for various reasons, and I can definitely say, seeing all this firsthand, is the team doesn't just say, "Oh, okay, we'll get around to fixing it and figuring out what's going on." If there are performance issues, it's like all hands on deck. They're in this Slack channel figuring out all this stuff, and they really pay attention to that because it makes a massive difference in, kind of staying in the lines of, Adobe applications. Photoshop for a while, it was getting slow. It's a 25-year application. It's a lot of the code behind the scenes was legacy. And it got to the point where they just had to rewrite a lot of that stuff. One of the examples was the new document dialog. Previously, a few years ago, you launch that thing, it would take 5 seconds to actually show anything. So they started rewriting a lot of that legacy code, and now it's more or less instantaneous. So performance is super important. It really affects how you design.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So I have this bottom nav kind of working here, looking pretty good. Going to kind of create this repeat grid. Just quickly see. I had the bottom nav also fixed in position.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're testing it out, let me actually make this a. Okay, but I don't know if I want the feed and the notifications bar to stay up there. So what I'll probably do is also make that also scroll up as well.
Yeah.
I think it takes up a lot of space. So we can add that into the scroll group too, if we wanted to as well, as just like grouping it.
For things like this, now that scroll groups is available, do you find yourself using scroll groups more than just being able to, pull down that artboard, or do you kind of use both?
I kind of use both, but for the sake of not wanting to group them, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd rather this just be a scroll group by itself. I don't want to have to group these two.
Right.
I think for that sake, I won't do it. That way I can just make this actually. There we go.
Nice.
That feels better. Yeah. Perfect. If there's any questions, shoot them out. I think I'd be happy to answer. I want to quickly just go into what the training tab might look like,
mm-hmm.
Just so that we can, see a different kind of design, right?
And what do you envision being on this training tab?
Yeah, I think different kind of articles or maybe posts. We had let me just quickly remind everybody what that might look like so we had just different maybe posts here. So, the app would kind of know who you are, what you've liked in the past. So these are a section, we have this kind of horizontal navigation here,
Mm-hmm.
different kind of posts, maybe different trainings of maybe like an indoor spin or cycling training. Um, maybe this is like broken down by different sections or titles here,
Yeah.
maybe different collections here, stuff like that. So we'll start putting that together. Maybe you could even like bookmark some of them. Some of them will be labeled premium, some of them won't be. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah, one of my
just
favorite features in the Peloton app is the bookmark feature.
yeah.
But the one thing I will say is that it's very difficult, at least on the mobile app. It's a little bit easier on the actual the bike, but on the mobile app, it's very difficult to find those bookmarks. You have to go into, I think, the classes tab, and then go to the filters button, and then you have to find bookmarks. It's not surfaced very well. So if you were able to surface these very easily, if someone does have bookmarks, I think that would be great.
Yeah, just having that filter right from the beginning under that nav right there, maybe we're seeing for you or your bookmarks, I think would be perfect. So we have for you, I'm gonna just kind of go through this. Spell today.
I love how soft the the Helvetica now font looks.
Yeah, it's great. It has a lot of different weights, so you can really kind of play around with them. Display the text version. It also has a digital version too, which is kind of interesting, which is a lot wider than the normal one. That would be probably something that you can use for like these data points, right, where you want like maybe like shorter in height but wider text or something like that. That could be interesting to kind of play around with that there.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll do for you here have a maybe like a live tab. We'll have your bookmarks. Why not? We'll have collections. Maybe collections. Maybe your bookmarks are under collections. Maybe that works.
That could make sense. Yeah.
Trainers. I know we can probably do this with like a repeat grid. But I kind of want to just keep it outside of a repeat grid for now, just to, play around with it a little bit more.
Yeah. So Rob in the chat is asking, is it a good idea to keep horizontal scrolls in an app which is primarily vertical scrolling?
Yeah, I mean, I think having the having it kind of broken, because this one specifically has a lot of like different sections. I think having that ability to kind of filter that rather quickly makes sense.
Totally. Smith is saying, I usually keep inspirational photos or screenshots from Behance next to my artboard while I'm making the mocks. That's a good idea. Nice. Almost like a mood board of sorts.
Yeah, we could totally have done that, something like that with like the the landscape that we were looking at on the different articles, on the different when we're looking at the brand itself.
Yeah.
Using the same color of this outline here as the same kind of divider for this here.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm also want to have like an indicator showing that I'm on this kind of tab, right? Interesting. Okay, perfect. I think this works. I'm just looking at my wireframes, making sure that we have everything that we spoke about last time.
Yeah, often I find myself forgetting what I have in my wireframes, and then the high fidelity is completely different because I kept forgetting to refer back to them.
And I'm just kind of giving these sections like a title here. And then we can kind of have how, just looking at the height and stuff like that on my past. Maybe we have, just looking at this round, so this is 8. So our posts have around the corner of 8. I want to give these around the corner of 8 as well. So for consistency here.
Yep.
So it should be like a 30, 40. Yeah, that's good. If I think this works for us, we can then make this label an actual component.
We do have about an hour left, so if anyone does have questions for Ambert before he heads back to his typical day job, definitely throw it in the chat. He's incredibly experienced. He's done work for a lot of big clients, and if you want to pick his brain, now is the chance.
I'm going to just throw in a photo here of, you'll probably be familiar with Christian from the classes on Peloton, but let's say he did a class that you kind of want to watch, right? I think would be interesting to have on here as a premium content.
Yeah.
Maybe there's if you notice, some of the things I'm also doing is I'm kind of keeping heights and like sizes consistent. So like all icons have been 24-inch.
Yep.
Maybe on a bookmark here, right? 17.
Yeah, things like, it sounds like it's such a small thing, but keeping the height and the sizes of things like icons and text consistent across all your different artboards really does make a difference in the user experience. And it keeps us as designers sane.
Right. I'm just gonna put a fake title or something like that here. This might be a little too big, so I think I'm gonna just bring it down to 16. Let's quickly see what this looks like. That's keep it as is for now.
Things like this are always a little bit challenging because, this one doesn't look too bad because it's a black and white photo. There's a lot of empty space. But once you start adding in other photos that might be a bit busier, a bit more color, then you've got all these elements like the text and the badge that could clash with that a little bit.
Yeah, so what would be a good thing to have here is like I'll probably do here is throw in another photo that is full of color. Let's just do that really quick. There. Let's throw in one of these. And these are all from Adobe stock, which is really cool. So let's just throw in this one. Yeah, just like this. This is a great example.
Yeah.
So what we can do here is add a kind of a gradient to this. I have this that side to be rounded, but I do want the bottom to have the same. Yes, perfect. And we'll just play around with this kind of gradient until we can see. We don't want it to be that hard line to be visible. Right?
Yeah.
So we'll bring this down. So just a tad. Just kind of play around with it a little bit to kind of see where we want to get it. That works.
It does, yeah. It's very subtle, but it definitely works.
Maybe
Fab
there's
in the chat. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Fab in the chat is saying he likes to see what workouts the people I follow are doing. I usually just see the results, but it would be cool to see what workouts have led to those results. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that'd be so. Maybe there's like a so and so took this workout, so and so took this workout as well. That'd be interesting to have for sure.
Yeah, and also if you click into that, maybe you can see the journey that they've gone through, and of course if they're open to it, seeing what their weight results possibly might be. Of course that shouldn't be on by default, but some people like sharing that stuff for inspirational purposes or to keep them in check.
100%. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just throw in like a quick. This isn't so. Long, but I think it works so far. Yeah, and we'll just we'll make this into a component just in case, so that if we want to make edits on any one of them just down the line, we can quickly do that. And then I will make it a repeat grid also, so that it could be something that's scrollable left and right.
Right. What's nice about using components inside of a repeat grid is that you can make overrides to certain elements, like the premium badge, for example. You can change that. Whereas if it wasn't a component and it was in a repeat grid, it would basically change it everywhere.
So we'll have some other kind of photos in here. As you can see, it didn't change all the other ones. It just updated that specific one there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just throw in some of these photos that we found.
Yeah, and I will note that if you are hoping to drag in bulk images, like let's say 20 images into a repeat grid, Components doesn't work with that by design, I believe. So you'll want to drag in the images first and then convert the element into a component afterwards if it's inside a repeat grid. So just keep that in mind.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions in the chat about that. And it would be cool that if someday components could work with bulk images, but I think by design it's not supposed to.
Yeah, so maybe like this premium badge is not on this one, right? So like this one you can actually take for free because that's not part of the paid subscription. Mm-hmm. But we'll make this a scroll group. I want to kind of really see. There we go. Look at that. So it feels starting to feel like an actual app that you can kind of scroll through. I can do the same with these as well. Make this a scroll group. Just want to see as well. Just quickly kind of create another one here. I want to use, maybe this one's going to be maybe taller, right?
Mm.
Just to kind of give it a feeling of importance here as well. We used a 8 point.
Yeah, it's really interesting what the size of an image can do to a user. You see a big image and you think, oh, that's got to be important. It should be something I should focus on. And you see the little ones, you're like, it's okay. I'll go to the big one.
Yeah, maybe it's see, hold on. Just quickly going through some of these designs. Obviously, like as you're going through this, you really kind of want to finesse and fine tune some of these things. We're kind of going rather quickly so we can try and get a whole app kind of designed within 2 hours.
No rush, right? No pressure. If only life was that simple. You can just design an app in 2 hours.
Right. And solve all the problems within 2 hours.
Yes. Yeah, really.
Some of these photos are really great. Let's throw this one in there. That's one of the things I love about XD also is just drag and drop photos and quickly, easily mask them or just move them around.
I can't imagine life without it.
And again, I'm just going to quickly make this also a repeat grid as well.
As Cody mentioned in the chat, we do have 20 minutes until we take a look at some daily challenge entries. We may not find very much in there, considering we haven't kicked off today's challenge just yet. So, feel free to throw it in there. If you don't get it in time, we'll definitely be taking a look at more throughout the week. So how would you decide which sections have larger images versus which sections would have smaller ones?
Good question. I guess it would be like, because this is an activity app, I think it would be great if not all of these were just photos, right? It'd be great if some of these were actual videos playing.
Oh, interesting.
Like quick snippets. So maybe the taller ones were videos so that they draw more attention. Maybe some of the premium content ones were videos and stuff and taller and things of that nature.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, you brought up videos, a lot of people ask, when is XD going to have video playback in the app? And I never have a direct answer. I still don't have a direct answer. All I know is that the team has been exploring that for a while, and they want to make sure, like many things, they want to make sure that they get it right. Especially with video and GIFs, they're very large. Some videos could be hundreds of megabytes, if not more. And whenever you throw things like that in an app, not only does it increase file size, it could also bring down performance. And I feel like a lot of things come back to performance, right? So the team wants to make sure that when they do introduce video playback, that it's not going to bring down performance.
Yeah, no, but that would be an awesome feature.
I think so.
Prototyping that and kind of showing that, I think would be great.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where I've been designing like a landing page, and a lot of websites these days have these massive videos at the top of it that just autoplay. Even if it's just a few seconds long, having video playback in XD would be nice.
Yeah, even like just showing what this onboarding would be like, because I'd love for this to be video instead of photos. Just kind of showing what that would look like would be amazing. Perfect. So I just quickly let me just move these. Quickly just kind of showed what this looks like so far. We have some what looks like really good content in the training section of the app. Obviously we can add different photos and whatnot, but it's looking pretty good. It's looking like like an app that has a lot of information. Maybe these down here are just nutrition articles. as opposed to like, become a faster cyclist. Maybe I did download some like nutrition images from maybe they just find one so it feels a little bit more. They're all great photos, by the way.
Yeah, these are really good photos. I wish I could take photos half as good as these.
Let's see. Oh, we're not using that one, so let's just add that one in there. Oh, there we go. That's a good one. All right, that's good. It's a different photo. It feels like a different category or section.
Yeah.
Any questions so far? Just curious.
Nothing yet. I think we're all caught up. But if anyone does have questions for Ambert, we do have about 45 minutes left, so definitely throw them in there.
Awesome.
So you've been using XD for how long, Ambert?
Since it's pretty much came out. I mean, I think just playing with it off and on. I've been designing websites since 1998.
It's a while ago.
So you name a platform, I've tried them out. I've been using XD for the past year. Only now for everything that we're doing, not only just websites or apps, but also presentations and things of that nature. Just because it's been an easy program to kind of use and collaborate on with team members and stuff like that. So
yeah, especially these days. So we were talking, I think it was before the stream, that you haven't really seen many of your team members in person in quite a while. So collaboration is very different these days. Now it's all using plugins or co-editing or things like Google Docs, and it's just a very different world.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, I love seeing all the new updates. I love seeing all the all the things that you guys have been pushing, and definitely excited about future updates, like you said, pages or videos whenever that comes out and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we have a lot in store. A lot's being worked on right now. I know a lot of what's being worked on. I can't say anything just yet, but Adobe Max is coming up in just a few months. It's going to be online. It's going to be completely free for everyone. So we're expecting a lot of eyes, and we always have big updates at Adobe Max. So we're going to introduce some exciting things there, and of course, there's a lot more coming in 2021. And if I can put you on the spot for a second, Ambert, if you had a magic wand and you can make one feature appear in Adobe XD tomorrow, what would that be?
That's a good question. To be kind of selfish, I guess, in a way, for me, it would be. I know XD has this feature of like, I can right-click on a character style and then kind of highlight it on the canvas, right, and it would show up.
Yeah.
I think having the opposite, right? So if this was a character style, let's say this was a character style that we're calling page titles, right? This is page title. So right now, if I right click this and then highlight on canvas, it would show that these are the ones that are, these have that character style. But if I had just selected this, I wish it was highlighted already on the side here.
So you know which one to edit if you need to.
Already is, right. That's just a small one, not asking for much there.
Yeah, that seems like a good quality of life improvement.
Yeah, that would be one. And then also, adding video to prototypes, I think would be a big plus.
Yeah.
Video or GIFs or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, going back to your first suggestion, that we have that functionality sort of with components, where if you right click on a component, you can edit the main component. And there could be something similar in addition to maybe a border. If you right click on a character style, you can edit that character style So it would just pop up that little window right there, so you don't have to go to your assets panel if it's not open. That could be interesting as well.
Yeah, that would be for sure. Let me make this also a group these. Just really quickly want to see what this might look like. Yeah, that works.
Kadima is asking, I saw icons pop up while you were typing. How did you do that?
Icons pop up while...
I think Kadima might be referring to the font awesome.
The font awesome, yeah.
Typeface, yeah. Yeah, so Ambert has a typeface called, it's a collection of typefaces called Font Awesome. And as you type, when you're in a text layer, if it matches any of the icons, it'll change it to that icon.
So let me just quickly do like one here that would be for, I haven't even named my artboards. I'm being very very kind of sloppy here, but yeah, usually I would just go in and name these artboards and stuff like that. I'd probably clean it up, but when I really kind of I'm liking a design, but I'm gonna quickly kind of just maybe sections. I just want to show what it might look like when you tap on some of these different these different tabs here.
Right.
So maybe we have a collection. I'm just gonna make this rather quickly and very simple.
Yeah, artboard naming is something I struggle with as well, and to an extent, layer naming as well. Sometimes I'll look in my layers panel. They'll be like rectangle number 496. Right. What have I done?
I'm not showing my layers panel for that specific reason.
Yeah. So Smith is asking, what does a quality of life improvement mean? Is it a design process or a software development life cycle thing? So, I mean, it can mean various things depending on who you're asking, but usually it's a smaller feature. Something like what Ambert was talking about, highlighting a character style in the layers or the assets panel. It's not a massive feature like, let's say, dark mode, for example, right? Which is a massive challenge in and of itself. It's more of a smaller thing that will just improve the quality of your design life. Usually these quality of life features take a little bit less time than the larger ones, and sometimes they're done during hackathons or things like that, but they're typically on the smaller side.
And I'm just quickly creating the collections side of this. Mm-hmm. And because I'm using the same name, the same name on the artboard and all that, I'm gonna do a auto animate, which is we'll see how that looks like. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want this to be bold. Same here. We don't need that title there since you're already selected on that. I'm gonna drop in some photos here. And these are, collections of different training videos or posts or stuff like that, and people would work on the app.
On a screen like this, would you have any copy at the top that explains what a collection is, or would that be part of the onboarding experience? Or maybe there's in each section, maybe there's a very quick onboarding experience for those sections, or how would you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having just collections makes you kind of, as you tap in it and you see different titles here. So this would say, cycling. This would say running. This would be trail biking. It's being able to have, I don't know. I think collections is just pretty self-explanatory, right? I think I don't think you don't really need to kind of explain kind of what that is.
Yeah. Looks like you have drag selected in the properties inspector.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, tab.
And Ricardo's asking, which model of iMac are you using? Or, sorry, just Mac in general. Which model of Mac are you using?
I am model of Mac. It's just a MacBook Pro, 15-inch.
Nice.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool, the auto animate. I think I would probably prefer something maybe quick. And the cool thing about this too is that you can have like this, select this open, and you can quickly toggle and like play with different.
Yeah.
Let's see what this looks like. What the auto, I like how the bar kind of moves, but
feels a little slow. And I think I think the bar moving at the top and then everything else fading in is a little bit
too much happening at the same time.
Of course, what you could do is, and this will obviously take a while, but you can basically set up, you add the information on from the second screen on the first screen. That way, when you do slide over, it all kind of slides over as well.
Got to bring in, there it is. There we go. Yeah, just have a little, I almost kind of prefer the quick transition between the.
I do too. We've got 2 minutes until we dive into Discord to take a look at some challenge entries. I should probably check while you're doing that if we even have any.
There we go. There's a little bit of a weird kind of movement here on the typeface, but I think I will forgive that for now. It's probably just with like the placement of the bold. I think the kerning of it too.
Yeah.
But I think for now we'll just kind of forgive that and then maybe tackle that later. Because the idea right now is to try and get, this to a spot where we feel like we can maybe get the users to kind of look at it and see, how they would interact with it and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And then we can really deep dive into making sure that it's pixel perfect. I want to show maybe what one of these posts would look like. So let's just do that. You said how much time do we have?
We have about 40 seconds.
40 seconds. All right.
Yeah, but it looks like we only have like 1 or 2 entries to look at, so we'll definitely be back to your work pretty quickly.
Awesome. So I'll just really quick kind of start doing this.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want it to kind of take over the entire page. I don't even want a bottom nav. I want, once you click on one of these or tap on one of these, that it takes up the entire screen.
Right.
Maybe like your only call to action is to start the workout, right? As opposed to having many different call to actions. And if not, you'd have one way to kind of escape or to get out or to bookmark it or something like that. But it just has, this class the details a little bit more, so you can kind of read the details and all of that stuff too. So.
Yeah, definitely want the user focused on what they should be doing, which is the working out portion of it.
Yep. I'm just going to be naming these. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so go ahead and pop open Discord on your screen.
So I was able to download it and install it. Might have to show me where that's at.
So while Ambert is doing that, let me see if I can switch over to my screen. Move this over. We really just have one entry to look at. Let me hop over here. There we go. All right, so I am in Discord right now, and today's challenge, which I'll be kicking off right after this stream, is to design a landing page for a finance type of application. And we do have, I think, just this one that came in today, which I'm not surprised about because we haven't officially kicked it off yet. But this here is from Abdullah, and he created this landing page, very simple landing page. And you've got some navigation at the top, some text. I love the fact that this over here is underlined. I know, Ambert, you can't see my screen, I don't think, but once you do hop into, if you can find the XD community, I think also you can log in on the web, discord.gg/Adobe XD, I think, and that could work. We got more than budgets. The only thing I would say for this specific area is right now it's title cased. I would probably just go sentence case for that, just so it reads like a sentence, other than, and right now it kind of reads like more of a tagline, and maybe it is a tagline, but it just feels a little bit more like a sentence over here. It's a great little illustration over here. It's not too distracting. It's colorful, and it kind of works with the rest of the color scheme. Got a great looking call to action down here, and login at the top. I think it's a good start. And as I'll reveal more during our challenge in about half an hour, is that this one will be progressive. So the first week will be focused all on building out this landing page, and the second week will be about the mobile app. So you'll definitely have an opportunity to build up that page over the course of this week. All right, so that's basically all we have for today. So I hop back over to your screen, Ambert, if you want to just keep going.
Sure, fantastic. And I was able to get into the XD, so that's great.
Nice. So
this is a cool community of people just kind of chatting about XD and challenges and all that that you guys are putting together here. That's great.
Yeah, we initially launched it specifically for the daily challenges, and it really just grew. I think we have 50,000 designers in there, which is insane. And a lot of it is not necessarily focused on XD. It's just hanging out, chatting about design, getting best practices, and that sort of thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am. So what I'm doing here now is I'm just going to be showing you what it would look like once you tap on one of these videos or things like that, and then what you're going to see before you actually start the training, start the class.
Mm-hmm. What do you hope to do after these streams? You want to continue building this thing out? Are you going to post it somewhere, get it actually developed?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think if obviously, I think the idea it's pretty interesting having social kind of a component to this.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one thing that we did not add on here, which is probably what I'll do next, is in our wireframes here, we had this idea of adding highlights.
Oh, right.
So maybe I'll just jump back into the feed, and then maybe just kind of puts it together how that would work. But I'd like to kind of see that. I think that's a cool component to this, adding more social features to the activity training.
Yeah, I like it as
after you.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, even like after like adding a, how do you connect that now to the actual activity that you just did? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you tap on the activity, are you now able to see kind of these highlights that you posted during the activity and stuff like that? So just being able to see what that looks like, I think would be interesting.
Yeah, I like it as well, because thinking to my usage of Instagram, for example, I think I use stories more than I use the actual feed, because it just gives me a quick glimpse into what my friends are doing. And if I want to share something, I'm very particular of what I share on the actual feed, because I want it to be high quality and taken with a proper camera often. But if I just want to share something, yesterday I was in the hospital, for example, I just want to, very quickly share that with some of the people that follow me, or even my closest friends. I can just take a quick picture, shoot it up there, and, move on with my life. And it disappears after 24 hours.
Yeah. And I think that'd be interesting to have on on an activity app. Maybe some people don't want to necessarily be using social platforms all the time, specific ones or things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
now they can come here and share pictures of their food.
Well, we want to keep food somewhere else, maybe. Or maybe if we want to talk about nutrition. Maybe.
Right.
I think being able to maybe share here too would be interesting. This is the bookmark. Stays over here. Maybe this gets a little bit larger. Now we have like title here. We have it comes. Close the post that you just tapped on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Good guess.
The only downside about the font awesome library is you have to know how to spell.
Yes. Maybe there's like some quick points on what you're going to take in the class. Like maybe it's like a 40-minute it's I spelled that correctly.
I think so.
Maybe it's and then you're obviously cycling, and then maybe there's like maybe some of the equipment that you need or something like that. So
right.
Interesting to have these as icons next to it too. So I'm just going to be searching for this rather quickly.
If anyone has any last minute questions for Ambert, we do have about 15 minutes left, so definitely throw them in there. I'm taking a look.
Yes. Oh, clock. I got that right. Let's just do that.
And how have you been doing? You and your company have been doing over this quarantine period?
We're great. I mean, we're very fortunate enough to be working on digital products and and some pretty interesting stuff that I could talk about, stuff that I can't.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But we're going to be launching some products here shortly. Some that we feel like are going to be disrupting some different some industries.
That's exciting.
Hopefully, and yeah, we're fortunate to be working with a great team. We've all been kind of remote now, but still kind of making great progress. On our apps and some of the designs that we've been doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think, and so not only that, but we're also doing a lot of, what's called operators as a service, right? We have a bunch of different services that we're doing. It's not just creative, we're doing a lot of financial, we're doing a lot of venture. So we have some different clients that we're offering kind of these a whole gamut of services that that are great for these businesses. It's cool and all to make a cool product for a client, but when you can kind of service them, in its entirety, I think for us that's a great thing.
Absolutely. And it's good to hear that you guys are all doing well. Do you think once this is all over, whenever that's going to be, do you think you're going to go back to being in a studio, or you're going to keep remote, or a little bit of hybrid of both?
It's a good question. I think you do kind of like that idea that, the being able to be with people, being able to kind of ideate, on the fly and stuff like that. I think that's kind of important. I don't know. That's a great question. We're going to have to kind of really kind of play it by ear, right? As we kind of move forward. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be great to have an office, where we all can kind of get together and do great work. But I mean, also because we're doing it now, I think we're doing it now separately and all independent. I think I'm also taking advantage of that and spending a lot of time with my daughter, my wife, and family, and being able to see times where that I wouldn't normally see if I'm at the office, right? And being able to spend that time. So that's great to kind of have also. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think there's something special about going into an office and interacting with people. Maybe not all the time, but that I'm mostly remote, and the times I do go into the office, it's nice because you can see people face to face. You can, like you said, ideate. We used to do a lot of hosting out of the Adobe Studio, which I can't wait to get back to doing that eventually. Because then, afterwards you can go for dinner, you can have drinks or whatever it is. There is something special about that. But at the same time, we're also seeing that, your work can get done basically anywhere. Not everyone has that luxury, but many industries do. And I think as long as people are held accountable and make sure that things are done, because I know one of the arguments previously was, how do we make sure that work is actually being done? Well, I think it's easy to do if you just make sure people are doing their work, right? You have deadlines, you have certain things that they have to do, and we're seeing that it can be done.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I think I just turned on a bunch of we'll play around with that, but let's see what I did here. because
I
it's
did see a question in the chat. I don't know where it went. I think the person deleted it, but I believe it was something about, do you typically design for nudges or notifications, or is that really left up to the individual operating systems?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess it depends also on the scenario. Like if, I'd like to kind of think through of a scenario where that might be happening. Let's take these out. Okay, great. I'm just quickly prototyping what it would look like as it, as it opens.
Yeah.
Just want to see what that looks like. Cool. I'm going to kind of just play around with like, if I want it to be, let's just kind of see what auto animate does on this. Yeah, that's cool. Works. And then we'll add this also as a back here. Perfect. So as I'm going through this and just say I want to tap this and see what this looks like, I can start the training, a little bit more information about the the training video itself. That's cool.
It's looking good.
Yeah, so far so good. I want to kind of go into maybe what that, if I tap on training, what that looks like, maybe the video itself, what happens. But let me just jump into adding the highlights to the feed itself too, and what that could look like.
Oh, right.
I think I don't know if chat, yesterday, I think chat kind of liked the circle feel to it because it gives you that kind of, that, it reminds you of other apps that have this, Snapchat, Instagram, even now YouTube has them as well. I think the Behance app has them as well.
I think so. I think everyone has stories now or some sort of
circles, right? So
yeah.
Facebook has them as rectangles, which is kind of different. So maybe we'll play around with that and see what what we like. But I think it would be interesting to have these here on a on an activity app. See what that looks like.
And I think the rectangles might make a lot of sense for an app like this, because if there is a feature where someone can share maybe a quick story or highlight of maybe their last workout or bike ride, and it's in a map, for example, I think a rectangle would be more suited for that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the idea too is like, if you're riding along and you see a really nice sunset and you want to take a picture of that and post it right to Bustle. I think that would be interesting. And then also being able to now then once you're done with your activity and you tap on your activity, see all the highlights that pertain to that specific activity would be interesting too. So yeah, we'd have to really get into what that post would look like and all of that. So, but let me just start designing what a highlights feed would look like. Start off with the rectangles to see where we end with that. Obviously, you want the ability to add one yourself to a quick kind of, just going to give them like a light kind of color here.
Wonder when the day will come when design applications integrate stories.
Design applications integrate stories.
Yeah, like if you're in Adobe XD, someone can share a story that you're connected with about what they're working on.
Oh yeah, wow, that's
I don't know if that would annoy people. Of course, you might be able to turn it off, but it could be like a social aspect to your design applications.
yeah, that would be interesting. Do you see it right on your desktop or something like that?
Yeah, or like in one of the panels on the left.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
I have mixed feelings about it, but it could be interesting.
Let's see. Kind of want the idea. So we were going with. Uh, um, you misspelled that. So it's 10. Maybe you have, these are like your friends that you follow or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hard. It's SK.
Why? Yep. It's funny. I'm looking at the Behance page that we're on right now, that our video's on, and in the first sentence, my name is spelled incorrectly. It happens all the time. It took my wife about probably 6 months before she started spelling it correctly.
Okay. It's kind of interesting. Let's see what do here. I'm gonna add actually this. Like if I wanted to add one myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that nope. I thought that would be a shortcut. It's actually plus is the word.
Ah, there you go.
I don't know how I feel about them as rectangles yet, but we'll see.
I know it may not come apparent until you actually start adding content in there. Then it could make sense, or it could not make sense at all. And it does take up a lot of room, so you have to kind of weigh what you want the focus to be. Do you want the focus to be on those stories? Are people going to use that more, or do you want to focus on the feed below it?
Right. Yeah, and to your point of this, the the amount of space it's taking up. Yeah, I mean, now that we're looking at it, when we just do this quick kind of this preview here, yeah, it is taking up a lot of the space, a lot of real estate on this, on your screen, especially if you're looking at it on a smaller screen.
Yeah.
You're probably only seeing one post. So yeah, maybe we can play around with what that looks like. Maybe it's not rectangles. Maybe we go squares or a little bit shorter, not completely squares, but we'll just go with something like this. I think this would be interesting to see. I'm just kind of giving this one a kind of a button feel, so you can add your own.
We do have just about a minute left. So if anyone, it's probably too late for questions now, but we do have the XD Daily Creative Challenge coming up in just a few minutes, so stick around for that. And Ambert, do you want to let the good people know where they can find you and any plans for the future? Anything you want to plug?
Sure thing. Yeah, you can find all of our work on company website wheelhouse.io. Personally, you can find me on Behance, on any of social media platforms. Ambert, Guez, and that's the last 4 letters of Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much have that handle everywhere. So yeah, I mean, I think those are best places to kind of find me. happy to answer anybody's questions. I do offer a lot of mentorship time, like open office times.
Nice.
That I'm starting to do. Just really kind of want to help the community in any way possible that I can. So yeah, feel free to reach out, and be happy to help out in any way I can.
Sweet. Well, it was great having you, Ambert. Hopefully we can see each other soon in person, maybe. Imagine that.
For sure.
But yeah, go follow Ambert on all the places. Behance, Cody's posting it in the chat and Twitter as well. And big thank you one more time. Everyone, stick around in just a few minutes. I'll be back with the Creative Challenge, and that's about it. All right, everyone. We'll see you later.